Critics on the left say this is not a real grassroots phenomenon at all, that it's actually largely orchestrated by people fronting for corporate interests.
National organizer Eric Odom was at the Chicago rally and predicted more to come. But while he insisted these events were non-partisan, a fistful of rightward-leaning websites and commentators,
everything is big in Texas,
embraced the cause.
Some observers suggest not all of it was as homegrown as it may seem.
A lot of the sentiment is about organizing anti-Obama rallies.
That at almost any given time, any cockamamie proposition in America will have at least 25% of those polled supporting it. It was a good stunt. Whether the stunt really is more than a stunt remains to be seen.
This happens to a minority party after it's lost a couple of bad elections, but they're searching for their voice.
It's hard to talk when you're teabagging. David Gergen, appreciate it very much. Ali Velshi as well, thanks very much.
That is nothing but a bunch of tea-bagging rednecks.
These teabaggers, they turned everybody off. There were a bunch of like 75-year-old cranky white guys mad at everything.
Some of the theatrics, the circus atmosphere that we saw the last go-round of the summer when you were talking about controversial policy, teabaggers and all that other thing.
Yeah. I thank the teabaggers.
The teabaggers, okay.
Any teabaggers here tonight? They're the ones who got it passed. And then America saw that and said, what loons, we're going with the calm black man.
Yeah.
Republican incumbents have a big problem of their own this year. USA! Across the country, Tea Party activists are challenging sitting Republicans, claiming they're not conservative enough.
Does this new militancy on the right pose an opportunity for the Republican Party or create a dilemma?
What Democrats can only hope for is that Tea Party activists somehow overreach and that ends up becoming a stain on the Republican Party.
This couldn't have been a better event for the Democratic Party. I hope they come back and teabag some more.
For now, despite all the passionate anti-incumbent Tea Parties, the math suggests limited changes on Capitol Hill. A tempest in a teapot.
I think you get the general tenor of this. It's anti-government, anti-CNN, and since I can't really hear much more, and I think this is not really family viewing.
Take recession-raging conservatives and independents.
I think Barack Obama is anti-American.
Add a Democrat to the White House, and you get the Tea Party.
Outside the Capitol, a few hundred members of the conservative Tea Party movement called on Congress to kill the Democratic health care reform bill. Moving inside, they tried to lobby undecided Democrats. At times, it got ugly.
Protesters roaming Washington, some of them increasingly emotional, yelling slurs and epithets.
A year-long debate that's been rancorous and mean from the start turned even nastier yesterday. Demonstrators protesting the bill poured into the halls of Congress shouting, "Kill the bill," and "Made in the USSR." And as tempers rose, they hurled racial epithets.
The name-calling in groups with signs, calling people, epithets, comparing them to Hitler. We've seen it much more from the conservatives, from the Tea Party movement. Let's be honest here. It's coming mainly from one side.
Getting ugly as anger over health care reform erupts into some over-the-top rhetoric, including threats now against members of Congress. It can now be said that the debate over health care reform has gone too far. It's now veered into threats of violence.
Sound and fury. Opposition to health care turns menacing. Members of Congress get extra security. Who is behind this?
Tonight, uncivil discourse and threats of violence against Democrats who voted for health care reform.
Running through this whole sort of subculture that's developed around these Tea Parties is a bit of a dark undercurrent. You have outlandish conspiracy theories about death camps and about this takeover, people comparing President Obama to Hitler. And that it really is a sizable threat. It's not just a couple of people on the edges.
Some of it is aimed specifically and virulently at Obama, at his background, at his race, at his agenda, fascist, communist, both.
This is about hating a black man in the White House. This is racism straight up.
They've waved signs likening President Obama to Hitler and the devil, raised questions about whether he was really born in this country. Some prominent Obama supporters are now saying that it paints a picture of an opposition driven in part by a refusal to accept a black president.
Tea Party has a bit of an integrity problem, as everybody from birthers to open racists to outright Nazis are actually on the team, and no one involved, including its leadership, seems to mind that fact.
You got birthers, truthers, secessionists, nullifiers, people that are gun nuts, and birchers, by the way. My question is, if you follow these fundamentalists on the Constitution, or these original intent characters would never have allowed the Civil Rights Bill to be passed.
Racism is not the whole of the Tea Party, it is in its heart, along with blind hatred.
A certain number of signs and images at last weekend's big Tea Party march on Washington and at other recent events have featured racial and other violent themes, and President Carter today said he is extremely worried by it.
You start to see militia groups start to associate with the Tea Party. Let me tell you something, the Tea Party flag is now, you know, for example, they use the same kind of imagery. Yeah, the one with the snake, but it's the same imagery that was on Timothy McVeigh. You know, I mean, this is the kind of thing that's worrisome to me. I don't see how you can get away from it.